يستوي الذين لا يعلمون والذين قل هل يستوي الذين يعلمون والذين لا يعلمون. Say, O Muhammad, are the people who know, the people who have the knowledge, are they equal with the people who have no knowledge? Allah also says in the Quran, يَرْفَعِ اللَّهُ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا مِنْكُمْ وَالَّذِينَ أُوتُوا الْعِلْمَ دَرَجَاتٍ. Allah raises the believers among you, and He raises the people of knowledge among the believers ranks above others. Without knowledge, we would not be able to worship Allah. Without knowledge, we won't know properly who Allah is. Without knowledge, we won't know why we are here on this earth. Without knowledge, we won't know what is good and what's evil. Without knowledge, we don't know what Allah loves and rewards for, and we don't know, or we won't know, what Allah dislikes, hates, and punishes for. And without knowledge, we won't know what is beneficial, and we won't know what is harmful. And this is why one of the companions said in an authentic narration, it's a statement from the companion, الناس دون علم كالأنعام أو كالدواب. Humans without knowledge, divine knowledge, they would live like animals live. Whatever seems to be good, whatever seems to be appealing, they would follow their whims and desires. This is why knowledge has a high place in Islam. Some of the knowledge that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us, and the knowledge that Allah wants us to learn and wants us to grasp, is in His book, in the Quran. And it's also explained and elucidated in the statement of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in his sunnah, in his traditions, in his speech, and also in his actions. That's the knowledge that lets us know Allah, and it helps us understand the reality of this life, what we are supposed to do in it, and how we should navigate it, and how to make our way to paradise, and how to avoid the path that leads to the hellfire, and how to know our sworn enemy shaitan and the traps that he places on our path to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In the Quran, Allah put the knowledge that inspires our hearts and moves our hearts to Allah. So we are motivated to worship Him. We are inspired to give Allah His true worth. We are encouraged to put Allah first and set Him as the main priority in our life. And then it also harbors the knowledge that helps us make optimal decisions in this life. So we can design a lifestyle that is healthy, a lifestyle that eventually leads us to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And with all of that, we avoid getting lost in the details. We also avoid getting lost in the confusion and the doubts and the false information. Because following inaccurate information or following confusions and doubts, even if you want to do good but you are following the wrong advice, this could lead to the hellfire. Allah said in the Quran, قُلْ هَلْ نُنَبِّئُكُمْ بِالْأَخْسَرِينَ أَعْمَالًا الَّذِينَ ضَلَّ سَعْيُهُمْ فِي الْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا وَهُمْ يَحْسَبُونَ أَنَّهُمْ يُحْسِنُونَ صُنْعًا. Shall I not tell you about the people who will sustain the biggest loss? They will be the greatest losers on the Day of Judgment. They are the ones whose actions, whose pursuits in this life will go to waste, when they were thinking all along that they were doing good. So their information was inaccurate, it was wrong, and we want to avoid that loss. And the Prophet ﷺ mentioned in a hadith, يأتي أقوام بحسنات كأمثال جبال تهامة يجعلها الله هباء منثورا. Some people on the day of judgment will come with good deeds, similar to the mountains, a chain of mountains in the Arabian Peninsula, the mountains of Tihama. Allah will turn them into dust. They will be worthless. They will count nothing. They will be without weight. Why? Again, because they have committed things that annihilated their actions, things that nullified their actions, some things that spoiled and corrupted their good deeds, or they have at least offset them. This is why it's important for the believer to learn the knowledge, to understand Islam. And as Muslims, it's not enough to adopt the name Muslim. In everything that we have in Islam, you need knowledge with it. Why? Because there's a lot of confusion. There's a lot of false information. There is a lot of corruption around. There are a lot of people who teach opinions rather than divine knowledge. There are people who give you false information. And false information does not lead you to Allah, it leads you away. That's why the Prophet ﷺ said in the hadith we just quoted at the beginning, if Allah wants good for a person, He grants him or her understanding and grasp of the religion. We need that knowledge. The Prophet ﷺ highlighted the importance of knowledge for the believers by highlighting the status of the people who teach the knowledge, who guide humans. And who are these people? They are the scholars, the people who have devoted their lives and they have sacrificed other pursuits and pleasures of this life to learn the religion, and thus they can guide themselves first and then guide others. Guide them to Allah, guide them to Jannah, warn them against shaitan, warn them against their flaws and the pitfalls on the way so they can avoid them and they can have a safe journey to Allah. They remind them when they forget. They bring them back to guidance when they go astray. The Prophet ﷺ called these peoples the inheritors of the prophets. They are the ones who carry the torch after the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Why? Because as we mentioned, humans without guidance will be lost. They will be enslaved by shaitan, thinking they are independent, thinking they are intelligent, thinking they are civilized and advanced, thinking that they are humane, but they would be taken for a ride by their sworn enemy, shaitan. This is why the scholars, for example, said, إِنَّ الْفِتْنَةَ إِذَا أَقْبَلَتْ عَرَفَهَا كُلُّ عَالِمٍ فَإِذَا أَدْبَرَتْ عَرَفَهَا كُلُّ جَاهِلٍ. When the fitna, when the trials of confusion and deception, when they approach, the people of knowledge see them for what they are. But the rest of the people who don't have the knowledge, they will only see through these deceptions after they have run their full course, when it's too late. This is why all of us, need the people of knowledge. And this is why the Prophet ﷺ praised the students of knowledge. And this is why he said, خَيْرُكُم مَّن تَعَلَّمَ الْقُرْآنَ وَعَلَّمَهُ. The best among you are those who learn the Qur'an. And after they learn the Qur'an, obviously, and implement it, they would teach it. They would spread that knowledge. And the Qur'an is not just empty words you recite for mere barakah. The Qur'an has a lifestyle. The Qur'an teaches us literally about everything, but we are unable to unlock its secrets. A lot of us think the Qur'an is something we do for ritualistic recitation of the Qur'an, not realizing that wisdom is in the Qur'an. Knowing what existence is about is in the Qur'an. Knowing the reason for which we were created and the purpose which we are supposed to serve on this earth and in this life is in the Qur'an. How to navigate this life with all of its complexity is in the Qur'an. How to know what's good from what's evil, it's in the Qur'an. recognizing what's beneficial from what's harmful is in the Quran. Knowing how to live is in the Quran. Knowing how to be a husband or a wife is in the Quran. Knowing how to be a parent is in the Quran. Knowing how to go through this life and even make a living is in the Quran. There are technicalities that we can learn from engaging with life and learning from experts. But the guidelines, the principles, and the foundations are in the Quran. The Quran is the manual that Allah sent to us so that we can live through this life and navigate safely. So we can know which direction to take. We can know where danger lies so we can avoid it, and where there is potential and benefit so we can seek it, and we never lose direction. But we the Muslims, what do? We learn a little bit of the Quran, we use it for barakah, but then you know what? We spend our time chasing this life and we say, there's not much in the Quran. I can't see any solutions in the Quran. If you don't invest, you're not going to see it. Nothing comes for cheap. Even the cheap things of this life require you to hard work. This whole life is not worth a wing of a mosquito, as the Prophet ﷺ said. Yet, whatever you want from it, you have to work hard for it, day and night. You have to study hard. You have to work even late. You have to stay up all night sometimes, and for weeks and for months and for years. And you see that it's worth it. But when it comes for the knowledge of Islam and the knowledge of the Quran, we give up too early and we say, there's nothing. I don't see anything in there. But that's because it seems that we have more hope in the dunya than we have hope in the words of Allah.